Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today, guys, we're jumping into the world of Cardano. There's a lot of things going on in the background, some exciting stuff just around the corner. So I figured it was probably a good idea to get a bit of a roundup on the latest news for Cardano, what the kind of technicals are also looking at, and all that wonderful stuff. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, the link's in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. So why not go ahead and check that out? And with all that said, let's actually go ahead and make a start with what is going on here with Cardano. So let's go ahead and bring this up. And we're going to start with this piece of news. This is basically Cardano to scale up to 1 million TPS. Will ADA start a new bull run to $1? Yada, yada, yada. Kind of usual kind of headlines that are going to grab your attention. Now, going through this, I think there's a few things that we have to understand is 1 million transactions per second. It's a nice round number, gets people's kind of thoughts going, but actually, theoretically, you can scale up much further than 1 million by the time Cardano is done. So let's just first of all understand, does a TPS actually matter? Yes and no. You only really need a TPS when the demand is high enough to actually, require such a TPS, right? This is transactions per second. So when you have enough demand coming in that you need more transactions, that's really the beauty of the 𝗕𝗓𝗪 solution, where it can scale it up according to its requirements. So you might see that transactions one day, the TPS one day is like 500,000, another day it's 100,000. And then before you know it, maybe you're up at 2.5 million, right? And you can scale this depending on the number of nodes, the number of validators. The more validators there are, the more transactions you can get going. So that's the beauty of the 𝗕𝗓𝗪 solution. If you're not familiar, you should probably do some research on it. But yeah, just on the title there is interesting, but it's not really that interesting. I just said other stuff in here that I thought was worth probably talking about a little bit more than just the transactions per second. And, talking about bull run, I think we're getting close, but I don't think we're there just yet. And yeah, Cardano is a beast, and we're going to talk about that in a moment as well. But I don't think a bull run is just around the corner for Cardano. And yeah, we'll go into some of that stuff in a moment. Let's jump down here, right? So basically, Charles Hoskinson said that they'll be making a big announcement ahead of this month, and we're going to talk about that as well as we kind of progress through some of these articles. But yeah, there's something happening. I think it's the 18th of November up in Edinburgh, UK. We're obviously going to be heading up there, Chris and myself. All fingers crossed, everything goes to plan. We'll be up there in Edinburgh for this particular event. So that's going to be super, super interesting. Cardano's native cryptocurrency asset ADA is trading just below the 100 and 200 day moving averages. So if we jump on over into the chart here, you can see the white line. Let me just grab my little arrow here. This white line, this is the 100 EMA. And yes, we're trading below it. This is a trend filter. A lot of people will look at the 100 or even better, the 200 EMAs to know whether or not we're in a bull run or a bear market. When you're below it, you're trending down. And when you're above it, you're trending up. Okay, so essentially that's kind of what you're looking at here. Now you can see that we haven't really been above this level since November 2021. And since then, you can kind of see that this thing has been slipping down, retesting occasionally, but nothing too much to kind of know. The 200 EMA is probably the better one to be paying attention to rather than the 100 EMA, in my personal opinion. If we're going to use a moving average, then just bear in mind, we can cross across the 100, but until you're actually above the 200 EMA, you shouldn't be too positive about things, okay? So just bear that in mind. And yeah, we could potentially be looking at testing this range and still pulling back to the downside. Just bear that in mind there. When it talks about these things here, it says positive news could trigger a rally. I don't think so. But, this is where there's a difference between fundamental analysis and technical analysis. Fundamental analysis works really well if there's a huge amount of demand that's going to read into that and then actually go ahead and trade off of it, as in buy Cardano, by ADA. However, right now, with demand being so low, there's not actually that many people engaging in crypto, therefore not engaging in the news, and therefore the fundamentals, they don't generally have such a huge impact. It's more about where is the liquidity and who's going to be taking advantage of it? That's kind of how we look at it at the moment during these bear markets. It's fantastic opportunities though, because that is where the true money is being made, right? It's being made at these bear market low points because that's where you accumulate. So if you're engaged in crypto now, fantastic. That's the right thing to be doing in my opinion. Let's go ahead and to see if there's anything else worth noting down here. They talk about the event, join us for a virtual event. Well, we'll hopefully be there physically. That will basically showcase the community's achievements over the last 5 years and the vision for Cardano going forward and all of that. Now, there isn't actually terribly too much here, I don't think worth noting. We've obviously got the stable coins and things like that. So let's move on to the next one. The next one is going to be this. Cardano will be a different beast. Big tech giants to step into ecosystem. Now, again, the title of this makes it seem better than potentially that it actually is. It almost seems like big tech giants, whether that's Apple, Microsoft, they're looking at basically joining Cardano or something. That's kind of how you would read it, but that's not actually what's contained within the article. So following the introduction of smart contracts on the Cardano ecosystem, basically this is the Alonzo upgrade, dozens of international developers have launched projects on the blockchain. Now, one of the big takeaways here is that the total value locked is at $67.49 million. And basically this is courtesy of MinSwap, SundaySwap, and Wing Riders. And let's just shoot on down here, see if we can find anything worth actually kind of talking about. Now, tech giants will enter crypto. There'll be an Apple coin, and it will have amazing smart contracts and other regulated financial products. Most crypto will be competing with those individuals, as in those big crypto, as those big kind of tech giants. By then, Cardano will be fully P2P, decentralized and self-governed, out of anyone's grasp and a different beast altogether. So essentially here, the narrative is that Cardano has been building incredibly well. Okay, they've been doing a lot of stuff that's actually fundamental to progress longer term, and you might not see like huge amounts of, I guess updates constantly because things are breaking. They're constantly updating live. You're not seeing that. You're seeing stuff happen in the background that's actually laying a foundation. And basically what he's saying here is that by the time the tech giants actually come in with their own projects and their own kind of smart contract platforms and their own coins and their own products that they're going to be launching on there, it'll be too late because Cardano is going to be fully decentralized, self-governed, and there's nothing that these big tech companies can do versus the projects that maybe are not fully decentralized and that maybe aren't self-governed and have potential other issues, right? And they potentially could get left behind. So this basically comes, I think, from 𝗖𝗓𝗪, and he's saying that essentially Cardano's ADA and Cardano as an ecosystem is a beast into itself, and it's something that even these tech giants aren't really going to be able to get their heads around or even get close to, and therefore becomes untouchable longer term. That's kind of where it's going. Now, I don't think that's it's kind of one narrative, right? There's always going to be a flip and an opposite side to that argument. I think it's going to do incredibly well. And one of the things that we have to be, blissfully aware of is at some point, the likes of Apple, the likes of Amazon, the likes of Microsoft will be doing their own thing, and they are going to be huge competition for anyone else out there, right? But, I think Cardano is doing the right things at the moment. We obviously have some other projects that are also laying these foundations, trying to make sure that they future-proof themselves the best they can as well. So I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. We'll see how things kind of go. I'm a bit indifferent to this one. I'm not going to be like a full-on maxi thing. Absolutely Cardano is going to survive and all that kind of stuff, but I do think it has great potential to be a long-term survivor when it comes to the future of this space, and as big tech companies are most likely going to make a pivot towards it at some point in the future, I think Cardano is pretty well positioned, so we'll see how that kind of goes. The last thing here that I want to talk about before we kind of take a look at the price action stuff is that Dogecoin to become the currency of Twitter and X app, but only as an ADA sidechain, Charles Hoskinson. So again, they're getting out of this again by saying this is what Charles Hoskinson is saying. It's not necessarily 100% squeaky clean and perfect in the way that the things are coming across, but that's how the article is written. Now, this is basically to say that Dogecoin will become the currency of Twitter or to become, as in it's going to happen. And it probably will. But what we want to understand here is that Dogecoin should potentially actually do some kind of pivot here that helps it going forward, right? Becoming a sidechain of Cardano would potentially sort some of the issues at the fundamental level of the Dogecoin blockchain. Wouldn't necessarily solve all the issues of Dogecoin though. And the main issue really that wouldn't get addressed by this, as far as I'm aware, is the significant amount of supply that is held by just a few people. This is why Dogecoin going up to $1 is just theoretically impossible, because the people who actually own the most of it are the ones that are going to basically create all the selling pressure. They're just going to dump it on the market market if you get anywhere close to those kind of thresholds. And there isn't really enough demand to soak up that kind of volume because there's just so many tokens, right? You're talking billions of them. So it's not exactly going to be easy for demand to soak up that many, specifically the higher in price it goes. So as the supply comes in, basically that price is going to be suppressed. It's going to get pushed down. So even if you were to operate Dogecoin as an ADA sidechain, I think it would solve some of the issue, but wouldn't necessarily solve the supply and demand based issues. And again, that's something that would have to happen over time, and increase taxation on Doge so you can burn off a lot more of it longer term. Until those things are rectified, I can't see it. Now, of course, you could, if you wanted to, create, ADA Doge or whatever on the Cardano blockchain and actually use that, right? And actually that might create a new policy for it as well. You'd have to create a new policy to create one that has a finite amount of supply and all those kind of things and maybe move it forward. But then it wouldn't be Doge. It wouldn't be the same joke shitcoin, meme coin out there, right? And just to bear in mind, I call it a shitcoin. People call me unprofessional for that. You have to understand it took 2 hours to make it. It was designed nothing more than to be a shitcoin. It's by its very definition, it is supposed to be a shitcoin. That's not to be unprofessional. That is what it was designed to be. So it is nothing more than a joke. And if we were to really try to take it seriously, there's a lot of work that has to be done in order to make it something that it was never designed to be. So just bear these things in mind. I'm not going to say that it's not impossible to fix. I think it's very possible to fix. It will cost a fair amount of money, but you could potentially fix some of the underlying issues there. And I think that's kind of what Charles Hoskinson is trying to say and get to. He's offered to put Doge as a sidechain, blah, 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 they're going to get the stuff going. And of course, it gets attention and all that kind of stuff. But let's just be real. There's definitely a lot of issues when it comes to Doge, specifically the ownership of Doge, which is heavily skewed towards just a handful of wallets that can dump pretty much at any particular point in time. Whatever price they decide is enough, they could basically crash the entire thing. So yeah, it's one of those, you've got to be very, very careful with it. So let's jump down into this, right? So obviously on our daily chart here, we can see that we're below the 100 and 200 EMA, right? This is a bearish signal. Coming up, retesting this area, let's just go ahead and take a look, right? We retested it here and we got rejected from it. Okay, so just bear in mind that if we come up here and we retest it again, we are probably going to get rejected. Now, that might not be what you want to hear. Okay, and even if that is just to retest the 100, if we do turn the 100 into a brief support, we've got to get past the 200. And as I said, the 200 EMA, this is the one that is really considered the bear trend or bull trend indicator by many experienced traders in the space. They look at this and they see this as a clear rejection. This is a clear shorting scenario. Even here, right, you can see you broke it, we fell down massively. Even tried to rally, but no, you fell right the way back down. Retest it, get rejected, go down. Okay, so I'm not saying that we can't push through it. I'm just saying we should be slightly optimistic that actually we can't really be too optimistic is kind of what I'm saying here, mainly because we haven't really got the right levels just yet. If I bring this up to a weekly time frame, again, you get a very similar scenario here. You're way, way, way below it, and we are high on the stochastics. This basically tells us that momentum isn't really beneficial, or isn't really there to benefit an upward move. The momentum is actually more beneficial to the move to the downside. So we can't be too confident in thinking that the price is going to go to the moon and a new rally is just around the corner, for example. Now, I've been talking about this on the channel for a while, that I do think 22.23 cent seems to be a good place to be thinking. But let's just reflect on this area here as well. If I grab another fib here and I run it up to this high point and we take it to the bounce just here, we could see that actually, yeah, right down here we get confirmation of it. We come down at 22.23. As you can kind of see, it's been highlighted here on the 1-to-1 ratio. And if I put in a 3-wave count here, you would look at this like an A wave here, a B wave here, and a C wave coming down here. And this would be a 3-wave count inside this macro 3-wave count from the very top. So it does appear that this particular area at 22.23 seems to be the most obvious area for us to kind of think that the price is likely to head down towards, which means that we're probably going to be looking for rejection at some point from either the 100 EMA or the 200 EMA, and we're probably going to come down towards this level down here at 22.23, and this is going to be the point of the actual bottom of a potential bear market for Cardano. Okay, so we want to be, you know, optimistic when the data tells us to be optimistic, and I don't think we're there just yet. This potential drop to the downside from the current price would be about 45%. It's not the worst. I think we've seen it a lot worse, and I think that would actually just be a nice kind of way of finishing it. That being said, there's no guarantee that it'll even stop there. It could go down further if they aren't in a good economic climate. So right now, there's a lot of things to be concerned with. And one of the things that really bothers me in this space is essentially things like this. Actually, it's this one here, isn't it? Where they talk about is a bull run to $1. These are all clickbaity things that get you kind of, you know, all spurred up, ready to purchase some Cardano. But actually, the data in the background doesn't support this. And in fact, we should be blissfully aware that until the markets and the economic climate across, you know, whether that's the stock market, the metal market, the property market, until these things are actually looking slightly more encouraging, I'm not sure that the crypto market is going to deviate away from it. We've got to bear in mind this is the first time that in crypto we've experienced a recession, and I think that that's going to have a bit of a different impact on some, I want to say loosely, experienced traders within the crypto space have been used to. This is completely new. You can't just look back at 2017, 2018, or look all the way back at 2014, 15 and think, okay, well, we've got exactly the same scenarios coming up. We've already been through this many different times on the Bitcoin roundup that no, we've got vastly different data points. We've got different variables in this particular year than we had in 2018, than we had in 2014. These are different, and they are different because the economic climate is also presenting different variables. And we should be aware that things do not necessarily have to play out exactly as they have done previously. Now, with that being said, there is some interesting data that sits, you know, outside of just looking at the charts and looking at the price action, looking at indicators. There's a lot of things going on in the background that do matter, right? What is money actually doing? Where is big money going? Is it coming in? Is it going out? And, you know, fundamentally, are people and projects building? Are these project leads building during this bearish time? Or are they just trying to survive? There's a lot of telling things that are going on here, and it's very important that we actually pay attention to them. Are people and are these projects still actively communicating with their communities? Are they being positive about things, or are they being negative? Or maybe they're just ignoring their community and not really paying attention. There's a lot of warning signs out there, guys, and got to dig deeper than what is just inside a price chart. So guys, I'm going to leave this video right there. If you found it useful and informative, hit the like button. I do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Guys, with all that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.